Welcome to Jacket Jockeys with Justin.
And me!
Hey! We're
hi.
back again.
I never left.
I never left either. We've been here the whole time. We are...
You brought us back with you.
Yeah. Oh, God. We're here
I don't even remember saying that.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Anyone in the audience, help me out. I did my best internet research. There's another show or movie where someone says something like, they said something earlier on to some crazy thing. Someone confronts them about it, and they're like, I don't even remember saying that. What was that? I feel like it was lost, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, let me know. Jacket Jockeys at whatever. All right. So, Gmail, X, Blue Sky, what have you. We're all those places.
Really?
Yeah. YouTube.
YouTube?
We got a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I set it up.
Why is this necessary?
It's not necessary. None of this is necessary.
I see.
It isn't about necessity.
Okay.
If you're looking for necessity,
You told me that I had to do this out of necessity.
Well, that was a lie. I'm afraid to say.
You're supposed to say, I don't even remember saying that.
I don't remember saying. Yeah, good point. Should have said that. Anyway, we're here to discuss season 3, episode 4 of Showtime's Emmy-winning series Yellowjackets, entitled 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis. Which is a very weird, cheeky title that's referencing 12 Angry Men because there's like a trial going on. And then, it's funny to me that it names One Drunk Travis when it was not clear that Travis was drunk. And
this is what we learned.
And also, he had 1.5 lines in the episode, so it's just weird that he's name-checked in the title when he played almost no role in the episode. I'm just confused. I don't know, did they just think it was too weird to leave it at 12 Angry Girls because Travis was there? I don't know.
Yeah, it could have just been 12 Angry Girls ... and Travis.
Yeah, exactly. It's the drunk part that also confuses me.
It's the drunk part, yeah.
Because he has been drunk in previous episodes, at least in a sense.
The drunkenness isn't relevant the way the anger is relevant.
Yeah, and he seems like a little out of it, but there's really no, I don't know, I didn't get any indication that he was really drunk, the way
it seems like he's drunk on Lottie.
Maybe, but I don't even know about that. I don't know, I'm confused on every level about that, and we'll get to that because that's at the end of the episode. His enigmatic comments. I had some different thoughts when I watched it again, actually, about a lot of these scenes, because I think the first time you go through this, you don't know where they're going, and so it's less obvious what maybe is worth paying attention to, or at least it changes your perspective when you know where they're going. So anyway, it was pretty dramatic for me, the difference. This is a weird one. This episode is one of the most quintessential Yellowjackets episodes. There's so many moments where they go for certain things that just it's y'all out there, are you listening? Listen to what they say. Listen to how they're developing these things. It's such a consistent pattern. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I just, no Bigfoot baby. That was never going to happen. If you thought Bigfoot baby was going to happen, you're in for disappointment.
I'm pretty sure those people aren't listening to us because we've dissed on them so many times.
It's true. Okay, so yeah, you want to just dive in because we got some ins and outs to dive into this week.
We do.
It's surprisingly dense. I would say this is the densest episode of the season so far. It's certainly the most notes I've taken, just to describe the dynamics.
But you always take a lot of notes when you watch a trial unfold, when you're watching court TV all day.
I'm so glad you said that. So yeah. That reminded me. The first thing that I thought when should I wait? Yeah, I'm going to wait. Sorry. Well, let's get into the scenes and then I'll say my thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we start off in the past. We open on an idyllic shot of the woods as Ben is marched back to the camp. Shauna, Van, and Akila briefly discuss the dream from the last episode. Shauna thinks it wasn't that weird, calling it a 6 out of 10. which I thought was fucking hilarious. This is an example of what I was talking about. She's like dissing the show, you know? Like, yeah, that was bad, whatever. You know, and it's like, y'all made us sit through like 10 minutes of that shit. And then you have Shauna go, bah, it was nothing. I don't know. That was funny to me. Anyway.
Yeah, same.
Akila thinks it may have been a message. Shauna glibly says that the message was to stay out of the cave. And the two of them leave Akila behind. Van makes no comment. So, yeah, so this is our follow-up on that long fantasy sequence. And it's a big-ass wet fart.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny that they did talk about it, and it does seem like they don't quite acknowledge that they had the same dream.
I think they do. I think that's implied.
It does seem implied.
So we don't learn nothing.
Yeah.
But it isn't that much.
But they didn't say it explicitly, and there's still room for the idea that they just three had separate dreams, and well,
that would really be a 6 out of a 10.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the same vision.
Yeah.
But Shauna, just right off the bat, is kind of a jerk.
You know, past Shauna is definitely like a pretty irritating character this season. It's hard for me to like her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Adult Shauna is like not quite going as far.
She doesn't want what the viewer wants.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
Yeah.
For this viewer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even 100% convinced she's wrong, but the way she goes about it is so hard to support. So anyway, this is a funny little scene. All right. Anyway, continuing from there.
This episode they're doing something really. They're taking Natalie and Shauna in very different directions in terms of likability, in terms of their roles in the social structure from where they were in, for instance, season 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much so.
Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a dramatic thing, and I can't help it. Well, I have some comments because there's some insinuations in the scene with Jackie in the freezer later with Shauna that made me think that there's a point to what they're doing with this.
I think there's a point to what they're doing, and I think part of it is reconfiguring the power structure in the past in order to move us more toward the scene that opened the series.
Right.
We talked last week about how do they go from this self-sustaining summer situation or spring situation, self-sustaining spring situation, triple S, to hunting each other again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is looming for sure. It's almost like we've gone back to that season 1 era where they know doom is coming, They're in this era where things are okay for now, but it's there's no clear plan of what they're going to do when things are rough again. Anyway, you ready to...
Yeah. Let's do it.
So Travis is sleeping, maybe because he's so drunk. I don't know. Anyway, then he wakes up and looks at some burned sketches. I think these are Javi's. My conclusion when I watch it again is that these are Javi's. He's also clutching the wolf's carving that Javi made.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
This is something I picked up. And they're burned, and we know he made sketches. So I think these are Javi's sketches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make the most sense.
He rescued them from the fire.
And it's so he doesn't say shit, so it's just very subtle. I don't know. Anyway, this is one of the few little bits we get of Travis.
Oh shit! Did Travis burn the cabin?
I mean, he's not out of the suspect list for sure. I mean, I feel like part of the point of the episode is you could argue for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So the others arrive back at camp. He gets up and is joined by Lottie as they see that Ben is with them. Ben takes in the camp. Shauna asks Natalie where she's going. She wants Ben to pay for what he did, but Natalie says, we won't do that. Lottie says, yeah, we should let it decide. And Melissa says, fuck that, he burned our home. Natalie says he deserves a chance to tell his side of the story, so they'll have a trial. And that's where we go into the credits.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't like that, we're going to have a trial. Boom. I thought it was... I thought it was dorky.
Yeah, so it didn't really bother me, but yeah, it is like kind of a classic TV setup. But what it made me think of is, do you remember the Lost Writers Guide?
Oh no. Oh yeah.
Like it was like
it's a medical drama. It's a law show.
And one of the specific scenarios that they outlined in that Writers Guide was they have a trial. For like maybe someone doing something. I forget exactly what the point.
They do have a trial, and it's also a wet fart.
Did they?
Didn't they? Don't they try Juliet?
Oh, the others. Yeah. But this was from early days, like season 1 main camp.
Yeah.
But it's true that they did a trial eventually. Yeah.
I just want to point out that I remembered that and you didn't.
Well, I was thinking the main survivors.
Sure. Excuses.
There was also Kate's trial when she goes back. Like, they did show that also, if you want more trial stuff.
Now you're just trying to save face.
But anyway, so I just thought it was funny that they got, again, just continuing what I feel like are... If not...
what if it turns out that Damon and Carlton actually ghost wrote the whole show? If Damon just couldn't handle the scrutiny
that would be
and the
so
judgment.
funny. No one's going to blame me for this. I'm going to... Yeah, that would be so funny. I mean, I'm convinced that they have a Lost influence in there. Yeah. And I don't know how much of this stuff... Like, this is a pretty obscure thing to be referencing, but it feels to me at the very least like it shows that there's a strong spiritual connection.
I don't disagree with your broader point. I also just think this is the kind of thing, trials over behavior, it's the kind of thing that's going to come up in any sort of post-apocalyptic or society destroyed thing. Like, I'm sure there's a trial in Lord of the Flies, which is kind of the touchstone text for a lot of these.
Yeah, and that's the place the Writer's Guide was coming from, that it's a logical place you could take that scenario, so it makes sense. There's other things that are like more explicit Lost references,
like,
for sure,
like the fact that Hurley was the Antler King and would lead them all in chasing people into the pit and then eating them. Like the cannibalism thing in Lost was through the
off
roof.
The charts.
It was like day 2 they're already eating each other.
I know,
just
right?
for fun.
Quit eating me, Boone.
There's still plenty of in-flight meals.
I'm still alive. What? Anyway, So I love how like no one cares what Lottie thinks. There's like multiple examples. of that
that's
in
another
this
example. You're right. I mean, Lottie is actually a really big one that they've totally shaken up the social order. In this, I mean, there's references to the way the social order had been in the previous seasons, but everybody's, getting kind of recast.
I'll tell you another thing I was thinking about with regard to Lottie. Like,
thinking a Lottie about Lottie?
I was thinking a Lottie. Yeah, I mean, especially because, this is a kind of a terminal episode for Lottie. I was thinking about how, I mean, this is one of the things I loved most about season 2 is the way they did the past and present character arcs with Lottie and Natalie. Like, specifically, like, they had them almost go in opposite directions. Like, past Natalie does her worst thing ever as present Natalie redeems herself. And past Lottie has doubts and comes to believe like she's not sure like any of that stuff was ever real, and adult Lottie starts in that place but then goes in the opposite direction by the end. Like, I just structurally, like, that was something I really appreciated. But something I thought about but I don't think I've ever said on the podcast is like, she's back on that train this season. It's been a couple months and like all that stuff with Travis, and now she's like going on Aquila to some extent, like, and she's talking about the wilderness all the time again. It's like she's like reverted back to believing in all of that, like woo-woo mysticism stuff that she was in, so it's like there's something happened in that interim of that like ultimate self-doubt place that she was in at the end of season 2 and where she is now. And I don't know, I think that's notable, so I wanted to bring that up. Okay, so shall we continue?
Let's.
All right. So as they set up some sort of table, this is what they kind of sit around, the jury table, the traditional jury table.
Yeah. There's a lot about this that is really well informed by American judicial practice.
I feel like that is one of the charming things about this plot, the way they don't really know how to do a trial, but they've seen him on TV and they just kind of bullshit their way through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Natalie says that it should be a 2/3 verdict, but Shauna wants a simple majority, which would be over 1/2. Natalie notes that the standard is 100%, so this is a compromise. She actually says, I'm meeting you halfway, but technically that's false.
Oh,
meeting her halfway would be more like 75.5. Anyway, whatever. I don't actually care about that. But Ty volunteers for prosecution, but wonders who will do the defense. And so they all look at Misty, who doesn't want to do it, but Natalie convinces her by saying that she can save his life. So just setting up the roles here, and also what the standard is going to be, which we'll come back to, and also not only do I think it should be a simple majority, I think I should be able to berate people until they agree with me, because that's definitely a good way to run a trial, right, Shauna? Anyway,
yeah, that's not good. Not good.
I just oh man, she's pushing that anti-hero thing so hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So we go back to the present. We have Shauna with Jeff getting the van repaired and talking to a repair guy. She thinks, oh yeah, it was a cut brake line, right? But the guy says no. It was a bad brake booster. Shauna's like, oh, so someone tampered with the brake booster. And the guy's like, no, it just failed.
Can that happen?
And gives him a quote and a time frame before walking away. I have no idea. Shauna agrees. He walks away. Shauna tells Jeff she thinks it's weird the brakes went bad like that, but Jeff thinks it was karma. Mm-hmm. At least for what he, quote, did to Kevin, or that he didn't, quote, stop it. Oh my god, the van didn't stop!
I love that. Peak Jeff. Oh, Jeff.
And it's like, you didn't even know that there was poison in the hot chocolate. Like, how could you have stopped that? Like, it's absurd.
Just like, how could he have stopped the minivan?
You're so right! Yeah, all right. It is classic Jeff. And Jeff is actually hilarious in this episode.
Jeff is great.
Yeah, I couldn't even. But this is another example, right? It's like following up that opening scene. We're all like talking about who tampered with the brakes, and then they tell us, nah, no one tampered with the brakes. It just fucking happened. It was just a failure. Like, the guy's like has no suspicion at all, And it's possible that something happened, but it allows us to like consider the possibility that it didn't really mean anything, and it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's, I don't know. Anyway, that's a weird move, right? All shows don't do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we go to Lottie. Oh man, okay. I just got to talk through this. This is so weird. Okay, Lottie, I don't even know how to describe this. Lottie leaves a bank, I guess, with a thank you from a guy who hands her a slip of paper. I don't know what this paper is, and offers to call a car, but she refuses.
Like a I don't know. Is it like a deposit? Like a receipt?
It might be. It just, they don't show it, and I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to I don't understand what's happening. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't think much of this when we first watched it, but when we get to the end, all of these scenes with Lottie acquire this greater significance, and I'm like, what the fuck is this about? Like, I have no idea. It goes nowhere in this episode, so I'm just... Now I'm like, maximum intrigue. Like, what the fuck is she doing at the bank? Like, what is this about? I seriously have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. I'm sure we will get new information and questions next episode. But I think the takeaway here is that she's just made some kind of high value transaction, or else the banker wouldn't be like offering to call her a car.
Yep.
But beyond that, in hindsight, knowing that she'll be dead at the end of the episode, it makes one wonder, did she put something in a safe deposit box? Did she open an account for someone else? Does this have to do with Callie? Does this relate to the fact that she drained Travis's account the day that he died.
Oh, right. That old gag. Yeah. I forgot about that,
know.
actually. Kind of feels like the show forgot about that. Anyway, there's a little more here. So Lottie gets a call from Thaisa, who asks her about the "It was pleased, you'll see" quote from the end of season 2. We all remember that. But Lottie says she doesn't remember saying that. And then Lottie says she should go, hailing a cab and hanging up on Thaisa. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think much of it the first time. But then I'm like, why is she so, like, standoffish here? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's weird. Is she lying that she doesn't remember? Or is she genuine? But even if she is, why is she just, like, hanging up on... Like, it's just weird. I don't know. Like, there's something super odd about this scene.
She seems honest when she says she doesn't remember. Or, I don't know. Maybe
I agree that she seemed honest.
In terms of why she's standoffish with Thaisa, I don't know if that's... Now my memory is hazy, but I thought that at the time it seemed like she was standoffish with Ty because Ty had called her for a particular ask, not to check in on her,
right.
how is she doing since we institutionalized her, whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But now we know she's on this whole other trajectory.
Yeah.
You know, if she killed herself.
Right.
Which I think is quite likely, although...
I got some other theories.
Everyone's a suspect. Anyway.
I got some other... Well, okay. So, I also just have to acknowledge... I mean, I referenced it earlier, but, you know, this is like... Like, we actually talked about this in the last episode, you know, these, like, ambiguous Lottie quotes, you know, "We won't be hungry for long," or, like... "You took something that doesn't belong to you," or, you know, like, she says this shit, and then, like, no, or, my favorite, you know, "Is there a difference?"
Yeah.
You know? Like, but no one ever really calls her on it, and I love that they were like, okay, we'll have someone call her on it, and then she's like, "Man, I don't know, I don't even remember saying that." And it's like, okay, you don't remember. What do you think you could have meant, though? Because you did say it.
Yeah.
Could you please, like, offer an opinion? Like, it was just like, she had nothing. And it's just, it's so, again, like, show someone, this is such a frustrating thing. Like, it's like I love hate it. I'm clearly drawn to this stuff, but it's so frustrating. I don't know. It's like... It gets me in this place where it engages me, but I'm also just like going like, God damn it, I want more. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like it gets me in that way, because it's like like, say something. Like, what were you talking about? I don't know. And it's like, I feel like I even sort of know, but I want you to give an opinion, and you just refuse to, and it's just yeah,
it's tricky because I don't really want to watch some, you know, like, fantasy magic kind of thing. Like, I don't know. But
you don't want Lottie to be like shooting lightning out of her hands and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And like, but I do want the stuff to mean something.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Shows like this are tricky.
They are. And it's just, it's sitting in a zone that, there's just, I don't know, shows like this don't come along every week.
Yeah.
And it was just, it felt like extra this week.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of that stuff. That specific, like, big intrigue into, I want to call it a bait and switch, you know? It's like you, or over promise, under deliver. Like, I'm kind of workshopping this because I'm thinking about trying to explain this in the Lost book. But, like, it's this thing where, like, you throw something out there that's, like, clearly supposed to provoke the audience, but then when you come back to it, you're like, nah, it's no big deal.
Yeah, for sure. It is sort of a bait and switch, and shows love to do it. And, I don't know what else to say about it, so you should probably just interrupt me.
Fair enough. No. I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah.
But, okay. So we'll go back to the past. We have Lottie picking up some flowers and, like, branches. I don't really know what she's doing here. As Aquila approaches, saying she didn't want to come here. And I guess she means she didn't want to come talk to Lottie.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
point she's made. It was a weird way to phrase it. Lottie says, talk to me. Aquila tells her about the dream in the cave and that it felt real somehow. Lottie thinks it was a vision and asks her if she's ready to keep going. Aquila says, when do we start? And Lottie says, tell me more about the cave. And that's the end of the scene.
Yeah, so they're going to go back to the cave and start, like, tripping out in the cave.
Maybe so.
Instead of taking shrooms. That sounds like a really unfortunate idea.
It sounds like an extremely unfortunate idea. Especially if there's poison gas down there in addition to whatever they bring themselves. But also, like, again, this is funny thing where Travis puts Lottie onto Aquila seemingly just to get her away from him.
Yeah.
And, like, but now it seems like there's a legit Lottie Aquila thing happening.
Yeah.
You know, like, by coincidence in a way. You know?
Yeah, like anyone. It could have been anyone. But,
yeah.
You know, once you throw in hallucinogenic gas. You know what is the worst thing that the show could do?
Go for it.
Is we find out that the pit girl scene was a cave hallucination. They never actually did that.
What? Never no pit girl? Oh no. Oh no.
No pit and no girl.
Oh no. Well, there is a pit. I mean, we've seen the pit.
The whole show has just been one cave hallucination.
Well, that would be a letdown. If they do that, I'm done. That's where you lose me. I can handle some hallucinations.
Is it Dallas
here and there.
that does that?
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't the whole show, but it
was like a whole season.
A whole season was a dream. Yeah, they did. They totally did that, and that's like fucking. That's when you're like, shit. I don't know how to get out of what we just did. So like, can we just like reset everything?
It's the worst way to do it.
It really is. It's a horrible idea. Please don't ever do this. But I just want to note here that Aquila's the only one who seems to have to put some meaning on the experience they had in the cave. Like the rest of them...
Well, we don't really know what Van thinks.
That's true. Van doesn't offer an opinion, but she also doesn't seem particularly
Van
concerned
is
about it.
so mysterious to me in general.
She's all over the place.
Right now. And in the future timeline, maybe she killed Lottie.
Yeah.
Her hand is shaking.
It's totally possible.
Shaking with the pretzel.
Fuck, I didn't even think about that. Of course I didn't think about the first time because we didn't even know that happened the first time. But the second time, it did seem suspicious.
Of course it's suspicious. As soon as they show this close shot on her hand.
Yeah.
Shaking. It's like, why is your hand shaking?
Yeah.
Your hand is shaking because of you have some, like, secret or there's
and
some,
she says
like,
the adrenaline.
inner turmoil.
And it's like, adrenaline from what? She says adrenaline from the day. And it's like, interesting. What'd you do today? It gave you so much adrenaline.
I mean, yeah, you almost killed a guy.
She's
but
implying
that was
it's that.
hours ago.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, if she's not the one who killed Lottie, maybe she knows what did happen. Or maybe, or she's hiding something else. I mean, she's obviously hiding something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, just to say, like, we've already been talking about how present day Van is a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah. Very, yes.
And I think past Van has also had some pendulum swings.
Backs and forth, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Anyhow.
Totally. Yeah. That weird place she was at the, like, it doesn't seem like that's there anymore.
Well, like, if Van is the one who... If Van's hand is shaking because she locked Shauna in the freezer, and she's the one who's been, I don't really buy that. I mean, the videotape connection is a thing, but...
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what she's getting at.
Yeah.
But she has dived right in. You know, she didn't want to be a part of any of this at first, and she's in it.
But she's acting very reluctant, you know?
Yeah, but she could just leave, and she doesn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're totally right about that. But it's like, but she tries, well, we could talk about it later, but like, she tries to talk Taissa off of it, and she does actually successfully do it in the end. So it's like, she is like putting something out there to you know, be proactive. Like, she's not just standing by passively while it happens, you know? So I don't know. So I'm not like, you know, I don't know. And the calling off the thing at the end of season 2, it's weird. And then, like, I think that's enough shuffling. Let's get to the fucking human sacrifice, please. And it's like, what? But so, yeah, no, I agree. Vanna's like...
Yeah, I mean, that's the craziest thing.
One of the hardest characters to read on the show. Like, I often feel like I just don't know where she's coming from. Because it's like, one scene, she seems totally normal, and the next scene, she's like... doing the craziest shit for no apparent reason. I don't know. Okay. So, okay. So then we go to Ben sitting by the ducks when Misty comes over and slaps him for burning the cabin.
So he's imprisoned with the ducks.
Yeah, they put him in duck jail.
Duck jail. I want to be in prison with ducks.
It's not so bad, actually. Mortimer should be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Just incidentally. And she references what she did for him, including talking him out of killing himself. Ben says he wouldn't do that. He didn't burn the cabin. Misty says, prove it. Ben says, how? And says the trial is a farce. He's already lost, and there's no reason to lie. I mean, I don't know if you're wrong about that, Ben. She seems convinced and says, don't say that out there if we're going to win this. And then she sits next to him.
She really thinks she's in a movie.
She does. She does. She wants to be fucking Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men. Yeah. She's like, you know what? I'm going to get you out of this. Mm-hmm. This is a job for me, and I got what it takes to...
Does Tom Cruise do it? Does he succeed?
Actually, I don't remember. He might not. Well, it might have actually failed.
Well, there you go.
It's been a long time. But I was just trying to... It was the first courtroom drama that came to mind.
Yeah.
There's some others out there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, back to the present. Jeff is loading a box with stuff for charity. Jeff found some tips on WikiHow for reversing bad karma, which is fucking hilarious. Including... the box, and he's also planning to find a lost cat from a 2-year-old flyer. I'm gonna find that cat. Love that. That's
Jeff.
It's
so
Jeff, ridiculous.
Pulling up WikiHow, how to reverse bad karma.
I know.
Oh, Jeff.
I know. He's so adorable. He means well, and he's so hopeless. Anyway, all right. Shauna is skeptical. Jeff asks Callie, who comes in, if she has anything to donate. Callie verifies that they don't have any of her stuff in the box and wonders why they're doing this now, and wonders if it's because Shauna threw Lottie out. Shauna says no, and also don't mention Lottie. Jeff says why now doesn't matter and defends the idea. Shauna agrees finally. Jeff says he wants to do some volunteer work. Callie says she's out. Jeff says it's the place where Randy does hours for his DUI. And Shauna agrees. I gotta bring something up here.
Go for it.
It's well, first of all, like, Callie comes off as like really weirdly like harsh here. Like, I don't know why she's so like, fuck this charity thing. Like, I don't know.
She's a teenager.
But it's like, I feel like she's
Were you really into doing charity when you were a teenager?
I feel like she's reverted to...
I forgot that when you were a teenager, you were a candy striper, and you would go around and you would solicit donations from people. You would take them. You would help little old ladies clear out their attic and take those items to a charity.
All right, fine. It's like the angsty teen side of Callie is something that I feel like hasn't been as prominent since season 1. So it
we're back to season 1.
Yeah, it felt like a different mode from what we've seen more recently. So that's why it felt jarring. Not in general. I do understand in general, but Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up is like we find out through the course. This is such a small point, and I don't care at all about this. But why am I bringing it up then? You ask. Anyway, we learned through the course of this episode that Randy is doing community service at the place where Misty works, and that throws the like. I just feel like they fucked this up because. With the FBI thing in season 2 with Walter, you know, she doesn't mention that. She's like, he's gonna recognize me because we went to high school together. But if he actually is doing community service where she works, then he knows her from like right now, you know. And it just seems like that's what she should have said if they actually knew they were gonna do this. Which they clearly did. It
was an extremely speedy trial for the DUI.
It's a retcon. I'm just saying it's a retcon.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it should be implied that the DUI happened before he was in the motel, before he was kicked out, and therefore before that whole thing. Anyway, okay, very small point, but it stuck out. Okay. So then we go to Van and Ty sitting on the street as Van says what they're doing is a stupid idea. But Ty thinks it could be worth it. They buy a deck of cards. They take out the Queen of Hearts. Van places it on the sidewalk and they watch as a few people almost but don't pick it up. Finally, a guy picks it up and puts it in his pocket and walks away. Van is surprised that, quote, it chose. And they get up to follow.
So... who would do that? Who would pick up a card from a deck of... like, who picks up a card from the street? Only a child should do that.
This fucking guy. I don't know.
This fucking guy does that.
We never learned anything about him.
You point out, that's true. You pointed out, you know, this kid, it, like, sticks to this kid's shoe for a while. You raised the question of, like, what would they have done?
Yeah, if the kid picked it up.
Yeah, if it hadn't like fallen off of, or no, the kid picks it up, but then it
sticks to someone else's shoe.
The grown up tells the kid to put the card down.
Yeah.
So you raised the question of like, what would they have done? Would they have really risked the possibility, or would they have
Yeah, like, do we have to, like, kill this child now? Like, are you really is it worth it? If that's what the wilderness chose? Like, do you believe in it that much?
The wilderness of downtown Newark. Or Jersey City, whatever this place is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. I feel like it's supposed to be New York City because there's multiple references to that in this episode.
Well, I know they're in New York City later, but I thought that, well, okay. Anyway.
I thought this was also New York City. I don't know that for sure. That goes back to, like, suspects lists here, but I think it's New York City. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It looks like it to me. But, yeah, I can't prove it. Okay. So we go back to the past. We're going to come back to that plot.
Yeah.
We go back to the past. Van outlines the trial and introduces the Honorable Judge Natalie.
There are these stupid outfits. I'm just like, this is so cornball. They're not 12. They're like 18 now. Why are they dressed like this? Anyway. And then, of course, they troll us with the antler hat.
Yep. Natalie comes out with the antlers on. Sits in a chair. I think from the airplane, that was my interpretation at least. There's like metal in it. So I was like, that must have come from the airplane. That shouldn't have been in the cabin. No, I don't think there was metal furniture in the cabin.
Yeah, I wasn't.
And they didn't drag a chair out of there anyway.
I wasn't paying attention to that level.
It doesn't really matter, but that was just my, thought. Bangs the gavel and tells Thaisa to call her first witness. Ty calls Mari. Mari is surprised. I don't know why. Misty tells Ben to smile. You should smile more, Ben. Anyway, Ty starts questioning, but Misty says they need to swear her in first, and then looks at Lottie.
Oh my god.
So this is another example of what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Lottie goes to Mari and tells her to repeat a strange oath to the wilderness, but Natalie interrupts with a more standard oath and waves Lottie away. Mari agrees to the latter. Ty says, we're glad to have you back after such a traumatic event. Misty objects, and Natalie agrees it's an opinion. So Ty reframes it as a question to Mari, who agrees it was traumatic. Mari says he, quote, made me eat bats, and he was talking to someone who wasn't she. Ty asks if he was deranged, and she says maybe. Mari says he didn't want her to tell the rest of them where he was because they might come and get payback. Ty repeats, payback. Misty takes over and asks if he said payback for what. Mari assumes burning the cabin, but Misty says that's an assumption. And you know what happens when you assume? This was in the official record.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hope the court reporters got that.
Then Misty notes that he didn't kill Mari or leave her in the pit like he could have. Mari admits that he didn't want her to die in the pit, and that's why he took her out of there. Misty repeats that point and asks Mari if that sounds like a murderer. And after Mari says no, she says no further questions. Okay, so I just want to make a few comments here. So, this is, I already said it, but just to reiterate, like, this is another example of, like, Lottie coming in with her stuff and just kind of getting casually dismissed. Like, no, whole truth, nothing but the truth, blah. Like, just enough with that, like... You will obey the wilderness and all it, it's okay. And then the other thing is, like, Mari says he made me eat bats. Like, I just object to that. That's not what happened. He offered you bats to eat.
Did you call out
objection? I should have, and I would have if I were there. But anyway, whatever. It's fine. It's Mari. I'll buy that. It's interesting that she mentions this talking to someone, because I kind of thought they dropped that thread, and maybe they are dropping the thread, but at least they mentioned it one more time.
Yeah, which I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because I would like them to revisit that, even if only in relation to Caved Ass.
Yes, definitely.
Like, maybe Lottie goes to talk to him at some point, like, to find out more about those voices.
Yeah. That could definitely happen. Before they eat him. Anyway.
Yeah, I was getting heavy, like, they're gonna execute him and then just eat him just cause.
Yeah, they don't even need to.
Yeah.
They got plenty of food.
Plenty of duck eggs.
But they're just gonna eat him anyway. Because, like, come on, what else are you gonna do with him?
Yeah, we're not gonna let that corpse rot.
Yeah,
There's no way to preserve him.
Definitely not.
We eat him or the maggots do.
Exactly. Somebody's gonna eat him, alright? What do you want it to be? Come on. The other thing I was gonna complain about is just, I gotta check the tape, and I didn't, so I could be wrong. I don't think Ben ever said the word payback.
Yeah, I also had that hesitation when I heard it. I was like, I don't think he said that.
It's like he did sort of imply that, like, they would come for him for vengeance, but it's just like,
in the end, I don't think it really mattered to the outcome of the trial. But,
I agree. I agree. It just sort of bothered me that they hinged this whole point on, said payback. Payback for what? And it's like, that was never said, so it's just silly to even have this line of questioning. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. It's interesting. Mari, like, she actually votes, like, innocent first, too. Like, she's really, like, heading for a redemption. I find myself liking Mari much more than Shauna in these episodes.
Yeah, she's behaving in much more likable ways.
Yeah.
You really see her conflict around this, and also, like, the fact that she's taken off guard by being called to the stand. It's like, Mari... Get with it.
It's not a shocker. You're literally the reason that we found him in the first place.
I sympathize with her, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with Coach Ben at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I wanted to be on Shauna's side when they had their conflict, but, like, like, Mari did a few casual taunts, and, like, Shauna, like, spit in her food and bit her and, like, was, like, attacking her. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's hard for me to be on her side there.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So we'll come back to that. Obviously, that's the main plot for the past in this episode. Okay. So we go back to the present. They arrive at the place Jeff mentioned, and Shauna reacts to the fact that it's Misty's nursing home. Jeff says we probably won't even see her as Misty appears. Classic Jeff. And walks over, wondering if Shauna's there to apologize. Shauna doesn't think she needs to apologize. Misty finds out they're there to volunteer and says that they're going on tapioca duty and thinks that this is better than an apology.
This is so funny to me, this whole tapioca duty.
Yeah,
those pearls aren't going to pudding themselves.
Exactly, that was the line. That was the line. Yeah, I'm also totally on Misty's side in Misty versus Shauna, you know? It's just like, Shauna's being totally unfair about this. You just accuse Misty of shit with no basis at all. And and you used her openly, for babysitting. And then you yelled at her about getting drugged against her will. It's just come on. Anyway. Shauna, come on, get your shit together. What's up with you this season? All right. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Back to the past. Misty questions Shauna about being up on the night of the fire. Shauna says that she was journaling. Misty asks if she started the fire. She denies it. Misty notes that night Nat was chosen as the leader, and asks Shauna if she's upset about not being chosen as the leader. Shauna lies and denies it. Misty presses her case, and I say she lies because we know for a fact that that's true.
Yeah, we do.
And Misty is insanely perceptive because I have no reason to think she actually read the journal where she said this directly. And it's you just picked up on this apparently because it's 100% true. Anyway, Misty presses her case and Shauna seems to admit it tacitly, but says why would she burn the cabin because of that? She lived there too. Misty thinks it was set up to save them all and be a hero and be crowned as a new leader. Misty stops there. Ty wants a redirect, but Natalie doesn't know what that is.
I love that.
So Ty clarifies she wants to talk to Shauna. So Nat agrees. Yeah, this is a good example of we don't really know what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
I remember reading the script for Pulp Fiction, that scene where they're trying to do the adrenaline shot and Uma Thurman, and in the script it describes it as a scene from ER, but no one knows what they're doing. You know, I feel like that's what this is like.
Yeah.
You know, it's in that spirit. Anyway, okay, so Thais is gonna talk to Shauna. She says that she thinks Shauna's a hero. Misty objects. Sustained. Ty asks Shauna if she thinks Ben is the hero. Shauna says no. Misty objects. Overruled. Ty asks Ty asks Shauna why she doesn't think Ben is the hero, asking if he helped when Shauna was in labor. Shauna says he did nothing, only saying, all I did was press play on a VHS tape. An accurate quote. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ty asks Shauna why Ben would start the fire. She says he judges us. He's not one of us. They fought to stay alive. Ty stops there and looks pleased.
Yeah, I did not think that Ben's failure to step up in Shauna's labor crisis was ever going to come back.
Me either.
And I thought that was a really savvy thing to bring up. And it leads to a pretty emotionally affecting exchange later in the episode where Ben admits that he's ashamed of having been a coward when she needed him, being the only adult in this massive crisis, and he just buckled under the pressure. I thought that was a really affecting and effective scene. I had not thought about that. I thought this was really good. This is why Thaisa is such a stellar attorney.
Why she's going to become a great lawyer later. Yeah, that's clearly a thing
and
here.
such a bad state senator.
Indeed.
Indeed. There was something else I was going to say about this. What was it? Yeah, I don't remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe you'll think of it, but
Yeah.
I was just going to defend, like, because, like, you can interpret it that way, and it's fair to feel that way, and I can see Shauna being disappointed, but I think, like, in another way, like, okay, you can argue, and it's arguable that Misty and or Aquila, like, weren't necessarily more qualified to help with that situation than Ben was, but they did step up, you know, so, like, on that, but on another level, like, I get being like, I don't know anything about this. I could just as easily make it worse. Like, I don't think I'm really gonna...
You can't make it worse. I mean, no.
You don't think so?
I mean...
If you make the wrong decisions in a, like, emergency medical situation, I mean, you don't think you can make it worse?
Well, what you just said, of course, is true. But he's the only adult. They're a bunch of teenage girls. They don't know anything about, like, he's presumably been in lots of, like, first aid situations. I just think, like, he's the only adult in the room. Like, just to walk away and leave them to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a miss. That's bad judgment. It's not the same, though, as deliberately setting the cabin on fire to kill them. Those are totally different things. But that, I'm not saying that it's that one leads to the other, but I do feel like that kind of thing, it's like it goes to character. It's the same as, like, he judges us, which is true. He absolutely judges you all.
Yeah, that's not wrong.
Not the same thing as saying that, like, just because somebody judges you and judges your behavior doesn't mean that he would try to kill you all in your sleep. But, like, of course, if you administer bad medical care, you can make a situation worse. But it's not like an ambulance was on the way, is my point.
Yeah, sure.
It's like there wasn't someone better qualified. Like, Aquila, he could have let Aquila take the lead and stood by to be like, I'm here for you no matter what you need.
Yeah.
But, and also, just to remind you, what's her name had also, like, almost fainted and passed out. She only came in later. Misty.
Yeah. She freaked out.
And left. And, like, it is a scary situation, but it's like what he has that the rest of them can't be expected to have, that Misty can't be expected to have, is a kind of maturity that comes with adulthood.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think if I were going to defend him, and I think this is why, like, I didn't take it, when we saw that, I didn't take it as a horrible thing, or like extremely cowardly or whatever, is that we were seeing his point of view before that. So, like, he had been like regressing into this, like, fantasy world, and just, like, lying in battle day, and also he was more malnourished than the rest of them because he hadn't eaten the stuff.
So that is definitely true. I agree with all of that, and it also made me less judgmental of his behavior in the moment.
Yeah.
That it's like, because he's just not in a state. He's barely lucid.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't know that because they're not watching the show.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted him to talk about that more. You know, he framed it in a different way from what I would have expected from what we actually saw in season 2. You know, like the way he talked about it felt more along the lines of the dynamic we saw in season 1 when, like, for example, when Laura Lee stands up and is like, what are you going to do to stop me? You're not, no one's listening to me. I have no power here. I'm basically useless. And then the next part of that that's clear in season 2 is, I'm going to be next. They're just going to eat me. Like, that's what's coming here, you know? And so it's like, I don't know, like, it's hard for me not to be at least somewhat sympathetic with that, but yeah, and also, like, I would be terrified by this situation as an adult. So it's like, but yeah, I mean, you know, could he have been braver? For sure. That's undeniable. But, you know, I'm a coward too, let's say.
I'm not saying that I would perform really well in that situation. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't
he
look
stepped
great.
up less than they did. So, you know, that's fair. Okay. But yeah, I was surprised. I was also kind of surprised that Shauna even noticed. You know, she was also like in her own like weird place in that episode.
Yeah.
So I was surprised she not only remembered, but she quotes him 100% accurately. That's exactly what he said.
That might be a little revisionist.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. My least favorite episode. Anyway.
That's right.
So, are you ready to move?
Yeah.
Did you think of a thing? Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I did say it, which is like, absolutely, okay. He was judging them.
Oh, yeah. No, you're totally right about that. He said that
right.
explicitly to Natalie. You're better than them. You should come with me. Like, it's very clear that he's judging them for what they're doing, you know? Yeah. Which, on the one hand, I understand, but on the other hand, it does seem unfair. Anyway, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I'd be eaten. That's just a simple answer. Anyway,
I'd be eaten.
They have to eat me because I couldn't deal.
Yeah.
I couldn't deal. All right. So we go back.
Oh, you mean I would be eaten? I thought you meant I'd be eating.
Oh no, they would
I
be
just like
eating
that's
me.
A really funny, casual way to say I'd be eaten.
No.
Motherfucker, I'd be eaten.
No.
I'd be.
I mean, maybe I could bring myself to do it, but I think just living in that situation, like even just doing the draw is awful.
You wouldn't have made it past the first night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not cut out for that hard living shit. Like, no way. No fucking way. I'd be Jackie, you know. Like, I'm just like I don't know what to do. Like, I just eat me. Please eat me. Anyway,
yeah. Starting with that high calorie butt.
High calorie butt meat. That's right. Okay, so back to the present. Van and Ty follow Card Guy. He has a kid's dress. They speculate on what that could mean and whether that should stop them, but they continue to follow.
Yeah, that's a really funny line when, you know, Van is like, he's got a kid's dress, he's a dad. She's like, or he's a creepy pervert.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't, a creepy
That's
pervert.
redundant.
Is redundant.
Yeah, it's a classic exchange. But this is actually the most we get about him.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, he lives in an apartment and he's carrying a dress. That's really like, and he picked up a card. Like, we just know no more than that.
No more.
They don't reveal that he has kids. They don't reveal that he's a creepy pervert.
Pervert.
Get out of here, pervert.
Get on in, pervert.
All right. Anyway. Woo. We'll come back to that, obviously. All right.
Let's do it.
So we have Randy calling out bingo numbers.
I love this scene.
But I'm a little confused about what happened. It's like he has microphone feedback problems because he's turning the wheel. I don't really understand what's going wrong here. But anyway, somehow he's fucking it up. And so Jeff steps in to turn the wheel initially. When Randy calls out B9 and there's no reaction, Jeff grabs the mic and makes a benign biopsy joke, which they fucking love.
They love it.
They're
He's
like,
in his element.
This guy is the funniest guy I've ever seen in my life.
It reminds me of this guy that I had the pleasure of meeting once who like took a karaoke machine around to nursing homes. And it was amazing. He was just the apple of every little old lady's eye. And yeah, I love Jeff in this episode.
He is very charming, definitely. The audience loves it. Jeff turns the wheel, and then someone says Jeff should read the numbers.
Oh,
Randy. I know, poor Randy. It's
every time Randy shows up, somebody's shitting on him.
Yeah, his gig gets usurped, and like he was like trying to do a thing. I don't know. It's like he didn't have all these jokes, but like, come on. I don't know. Anyway, so he does, and he gets G46. What are you gonna come up with for G46, Jeff? Well, here's what he comes up with: G for the sixth and final time. Who keeps leaving the Bengay next to the toothpaste? That is such a stretch.
It's so effective. His audience loves it.
They loved it.
Comedy is all about knowing your audience.
They absolutely loved it. That's happened to me. Anyway, I literally said that. All right, yeah, it's clear they relate. Anyway, it's going really well. He's fucking killing this. He's getting lots of karma. I don't know if Shauna is, but he's racking it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's like, what did you did the blackmail, Jeff? Like this other stuff, like that ain't your fault. Like anyway, all right. So Misty sees Jeff and then walks over to Svetlana, the lady who was brought in by Walter in season 2. I didn't think we were coming back to that. But that's why they showed it in the previously on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That went right over my head. That explains why she was so sure about the piece of paper.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that was something I didn't catch the first time either, but the second time it clicked. Okay. Seeing a folded piece of paper on the table, asks if it's for her, meaning Misty. Svetlana says it's her letter to the comptroller. And Misty leaves. It's like, well, okay. I don't know. I'm very confused by that. But comptroller is just a funny word. Mm-hmm. Google Docs spell checked me on this and thought I should say
computer.
I think it said controller. It wanted me to say controller. That's clearly what you meant to write, right? Controller. And it's like comptroller is a thing. Maybe you should learn that, Google. Get on that.
Teach it to the. Can you not do that?
You probably can. I didn't.
Wait, why are you in Google Docs? Anyway,
that's
whatever.
where I type
these.
Okay,
but it doesn't matter. Just in case you need to share it with people.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me easy access, and it saves them in a place so I
across your platform.
Get to
this
later.
Episode brought to you.
Try Google Docs today. Put in promo code Jacket Jockeys for $4 off your Google Docs. Yeah, they don't charge for that. Anyway, okay. So, Shauna is in the kitchen stirring some tapioca, I believe.
It better be tapioca.
And she's fucking enjoying herself, singing along to the sign. Like, she's like, this is great. It's like,
it opened up. Go ahead.
Misty is like, you're going to go on tapioca duty, and this will be better than apology. And then Shauna's like, you know what? This is great. Yeah. I saw the sun, and it opened up my eye. Yeah, it's like, I was like really surprised by this the second time, especially. I was like, oh man, she's fucking loving this. Anyway, by Ace of Base. Misty comes in and
It's actually the only time we see Shauna smile like this whole season.
It's true. This is like her happiest moment this entire season, which is kind of crazy.
Ace of Base has that effect on people.
I guess so.
So is tapioca.
Misty comes in and can't believe that Shauna's enjoying this. Isn't this all you do all day? Shauna says...
Wrong thing to say, Misty.
Shauna says Misty should be punished for the breaks, but Misty says she was in the car and she, quote, saved Shauna's life, and Shauna threw her out of the van. Shauna wonders what Misty wants. Misty wants an apology. Shauna gives a non-apology, saying she's sorry she doesn't know what she should apologize for.
Which is the kind of shitty thing that past Shauna would have done.
Yep. It's definitely adolescent Shauna coming out there.
It's adolescent behavior.
Misty imagines stabbing Shauna with a knife and then walks away.
I love that. And you know what, Misty... I get it.
I get it too. Because it's like, okay, so one thing that kind of stood out here, again, I don't really think that Misty killed Lottie, but it was interesting that she has a murderous fantasy in an episode that ends with a death. It's just notable.
Yeah.
And also, you know, just with regard to the... whatever this is going on with Shauna's like stalker or whatever, you know, like it stood out a little to me that they put this in here because we don't see this kind of thing routinely in the show. It's not normal.
Yeah.
But I agree that I understand.
I don't think there's any way that Misty killed Lottie, not in 1,000 years.
Yeah, I don't either.
She is the bottom of my suspect list.
I mean, I agree.
I would literally, the only person who would be less likely to have done it in my mind is Jeff.
Yes, yes. I was gonna say, like,
Randy.
when we got to the suspect list, yeah, Randy and then Jeff.
Randy, Jeff, Misty.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Correct me if I'm wrong. What exactly did Misty do to save Shauna's life when they were in the car? Did she do anything?
Did she pull the parking brake?
Did she? I didn't think she did.
Did she tell her to go up the hill? Did she, like, point her to the hill?
Maybe she pointed her to the hill. I don't remember that happening. I just thought it was weird that she says this. Shauna doesn't even contradict her, and so I'm like, maybe we're supposed to believe she did. But I'm like, I remember Shauna doing all the driving in that scene, so...
Yeah, I don't remember who finally threw the parking brake.
I thought Shauna pulled it once they went up that hill.
But Misty did direct her up the hill.
Okay, if she directed her up the hill, then I'll let that slide. I was like, did you? Like, how? Anyway, okay, fair enough. All right. So then Misty walks down the hall, seeing the paper on Svetlana's table again, and grabs it along with some puzzle pieces because she's just being mean for no reason.
Yeah, that is one of
This is an unlikable Misty moment for sure.
Yeah, I don't know why she's mad at Svetlana.
There's no reason to be.
Or she's just lashing out.
I think that's what it is.
She feels disrespected.
I think that's what it is. She's taking it out of someone who doesn't really deserve it. It's sort of like how she took out on Walter, like being mistreated by Shauna. You know, it's like a similar thing. Okay, so then we go to my pick for strangest scene in this episode that I don't understand. Lottie is rehearsing an apology in the mirror.
Oh,
I presume to Shauna, though she never says the name. So, I'm not 100% sure, but I just feel like from context, that's the most logical thing that she would be thinking about apologizing for. But she doesn't say it. And she does say at the end that she has a lot to apologize for. And that's where we leave this scene. This scene, again, the first time watching this, I actually found this to be kind of an amusing scene because she does these like take after take of like, I'm sorry, I'm very, it's this like classic rehearsal montage kind of thing. And she makes these faces and it's like quasi comical. But then watching it again, I'm like, knowing where the story's going, I'm like, oh, I'm not even 100% sure this is for Shauna. Like, it's like, could this be some other thing going on with Lottie? The trip to the bank and blowing Thaisa off, and I'm like, is there some extra behind the scenes thing happening with Lottie that like we're not privy to yet? It's weird.
So in the moment, I thought. Shauna or Callie, because she's got this fixation with Callie.
Right, sure.
And then at the end of the episode, after we find out that she ends up dead, I thought, okay, and I also thought it was funny because it was like she's trying to get it right, like she's rehearsing to try to make it look right, as opposed to just having it be sincere. At the end of the episode, thinking back on that, I thought, okay, she's rehearsing for a video. Like, she's trying to get it right because she's going to record herself making an apology. So then I thought, is this for all of the Yellowjackets? Is it for just Shauna, just Callie? Is it possibly for the acolytes? Mm-hmm. Like, we hear her... In the first episode, she sort of or second episode, whenever it is, she sort of like glosses over what happened to her.
Yeah, she lost her community or something. It was a vague line like that.
Yeah. Is there some, I don't know, financial malfeasance? I don't know. It's just it calls
the bank thing.
The bank
weird.
Thing. But then. Yeah, I'm really intrigued.
This is so it just blew right by initially, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're just like picking up with Lottie as she's like trying to make up for what happened before. It all seemed very normal, and it's just when you watch it again, it's like no. If you look carefully, it's actually not obvious what's happening here.
And there's this thing, that you've talked about in this podcast and previous podcasts about like how like her confidence in what she's doing wavering from time to time.
Yeah.
And, I think this rehearsed apology could be read as sort of a wavering of, like, she's not even confident in herself enough to just, like, say what she's going to say.
Yeah. Just try to come from a genuine place and let it flow.
Yeah, but I mean, one is invited, I think, in hindsight, to think, okay, she's rehearsing an apology for a suicide video.
Yep.
Or she's rehearsing an apology that she is going to deliver that is going to result in the person she's delivering the apology to killing her.
Yep.
Or,
those are definitely possibilities.
Or something else.
And this is our final scene with Lottie alive as an adult. This is it. So
yeah,
that's weird, when you don't know you're watching that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but then it's like, oh, that's weird. This is where we leave things? Okay. So yeah, no, the intrigue level is off the chart, and yet I have some banal theories to share with you towards the end, because I think if we neglect the banal, we really could go wrong with this show.
Oh dear.
So
right,
I have to throw some of those out there.
All right.
I hope they're wrong, but
so do I.
But I had some thoughts. But it is like, yeah, there's some juice here. I do appreciate that. This is actually probably my favorite episode this season so far. Like, I really enjoyed this, both parts.
Yeah, I did too, and I didn't think I was gonna when I found out, like, oh god, we're gonna have to watch Ben's trial. But I did like it.
Yeah. I found that enjoyable. I liked these adult. I don't know. There's something here. Anyway. We will discuss more about Lottie later when we learn what her ultimate fate was. We go back to the past. Misty, so Lottie's on the stand now. Misty asks Lottie if everyone was, quote, on board with the wilderness. Lottie says no, not everyone believed. Misty asks about examples from history. Lottie got an A in history, incidentally. Of people burning things because they disagreed with their belief systems. Lottie says, yeah, there are such examples. Misty asks if anyone who didn't agree with their beliefs could have burned the cabin, and Lottie agrees. Misty notes that Ben didn't believe, but neither did Shauna, Gin, Natalie, Melissa, Thaisa, or Lottie could have burned the cabin because it didn't want her to be the leader anymore. Lottie reluctantly agrees that one could think that after denying that she actually did it. Misty notes that it could have been any of them for many reasons, even Crystal. Lottie agrees. Misty says that's a reasonable doubt. So is it fair to convict? Lottie agrees that it is not. Did you hear yourself, Lottie? Anyway, Misty stops there. Shauna asks Ty what her plan is. Her plan was to rest. At this point, Shauna tells Ty that Natalie knew where Ben was hiding. Shauna then indicates that she should ask Natalie about it. And we will come back to that. My takeaway from this is that, I have two thoughts about it. I do feel like they're sort of now arguing, I think convincingly, that if they want to, we'll go back to, I'll come back to some stuff about Ben later, but, that, like, they can go on to say it was someone else if they want to. That could lead to some other conflicts, and I think they could go in that direction. Someone else burned a cabin for whatever reason. There's many reasons it could have been. And that's actually the answer. And they just wanted us to think it was Ben, the audience. And so they kind of like over-delivered or over-promised or whatever, showing and picking up the matches, blah, blah, blah. The other thought that I have that I don't want to say out loud, but I must, is like, I think there's a chance we never find out who burned the cabin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always a possibility.
I don't
and
want
honestly,
that to be true.
At the end of like when the cabin burned, I thought we would never find out. I thought that they would just sort of move on. I didn't actually even expect like a trial. I mean, I knew that there would be some showdown, that we weren't done, you know, that there would be another confrontation between Ben and the Yellowjackets. But yeah, I mean, as you know, as of really just since we've been doing this episode, like the last hour or whatever, I'm kind of obsessed with the theory that Travis did it.
Like Travis, I'm the one that. Drunk dark horse.
Yeah, I mean, he's super quiet this whole episode.
Very quiet. Very quiet.
They don't even say anything about it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so what if he knows he did it, so he lets him out of the duck prison.
Yeah.
Gives him a duck for his troubles.
Gives him a duck.
So he can eat more than just bats.
Right. That's an interesting theory, actually. Because, Travis isn't even mentioned in the possible suspects list that they outlined here. And I wasn't even thinking about Travis because, he's laying real low this episode for someone who's mentioned in the title. Anyway, that's actually valid. I mean, that whole thing with Javi, I could imagine that going in a direction where they argued that he, would have done it.
Yeah,
I don't think that's...
Yeah, here's a good motive. You just killed and ate my brother.
Yeah. It's funny they don't actually bring that up because that actually seems like a stronger argument than some of these other ones. But anyway, that's interesting. I want to know. I am going to be disappointed if we never know, but I just have to say it feels like a distinct possibility that we'll never know.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Next scene.
Yeah.
So we go back to the present. Shauna brings some bins of cut vegetables into the walk-in freezer, knocking over another bin that smashes on the floor. As she picks it up, the door closes behind her. Shauna knocks and calls out, but we see outside the door that no one is there. Shauna realizes that it's cold in there. That's not really the right way to describe that.
Uh-huh.
She reacts to the fact that it's cold in there. I think she obviously knew that it's cold in a freezer. Anyway, she picks up some meat and bangs on the door some more to no effect, and then Jackie appears. And we'll come back to that, obviously. I just want to say, I don't expect them to explain this. It definitely feels like overpromise, underdeliver, bait and switch kind of material happening with this door closing. Mm-hmm. But I just want to note, because this specifically feels like, well, I don't know if they intended this, but when I see someone locked in a freezer, what I think is The Shining.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about The Shining in that way is that the freezer incident, actually I think it's not a freezer, it's a pantry, but regardless, that incident is, the reason why you have to believe there are ghosts, because the ghosts unlock the freezer.
Yeah.
Neither of the very obvious humans there would have unlocked that door.
Yeah.
And the ghost, Grady is out there talking to him, and when he agrees to do what he wants, they unlock the thing. And that's when it's like, okay, like, it can't just be in their head. Stuff in their head doesn't unlock the thing, So anyway, just the fact that, like, this isn't supposed to, do it, and it just, like, slams behind her, it makes me want to believe that someone actually did this. Even though, like, because I don't think there are ghosts on Yellowjackets.
I don't think there are ghosts on Yellowjackets either. And I think what we got to think here is whatever we think about the breaks. Because having worked in food service, you can't get locked in a walk-in. Like, it's not even, I was going to say it's the 21st century, but not even 50 years ago could you have gotten locked in a walk-in. So there's a malfunction happening here. There's no, like, we see the outside. There's no padlock or broom, holding it closed or something.
Yeah.
So this is that maybe it's just that thing that you and I refer to sometimes. I mean, you and I've picked it up as like a Lindelofing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's no, I don't think anybody did that because we don't see anybody unlocking it later. Like it's glitching. So you can think it's karma if you believe in karma. You can think it's the spirit of the wilderness if you believe in that. But I don't think we're ever going to have an explanation. Just like we're never going to have an explanation beyond what we've gotten about the breaks. Like, it is a coincidence.
Yeah, so it's just like a fluke thing that like the door fucked up and like there's no one's behind this.
That's what I think.
And it's just a coincidence that there's this like stalker figure also looming.
Yeah,
like with the breaks,
but we don't see the stalker.
100% we don't. I agree. Yeah, I have no reason to think. It's just like, you know, it's just the coincidences are piling up here, and at a certain point it feels weird.
Well,
but
that's the Lindelof.
That is the Lindelof thing. You're totally right. Okay, I 100% agree with you for the record. I just don't want to.
Well,
I wish I didn't.
I mean, I don't think it's the. I don't think there's going to be a scene. You've always been the caretaker, Shauna.
I don't either. Okay, so we go to Ty and Van entering the apartment building, following the card guy. They go to his door. Van wonders how they'll get in, but Ty checks the door and it's unlocked. So they could just like walk right in. Ty thinks it's a sign.
It's not the New York of the 70s anymore, I'll tell you that. Leaving your door unlocked.
Van pulls her back. Ty basically says that she needs to do it so Van will live more. That's not how she phrased it, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Van wants to enjoy the time they have left. Fuck the wilderness. Thaisa closes the door, finally agreeing and saying, new plan. Telling Van to meet her at Columbus Circle in 1 hour. This is one of the reasons why I think they're in New York City. Incidentally.
I still think they're in like Jersey City. Which you can absolutely get to Columbus Circle in an hour.
Don't you have to go straight there though?
You gotta take the path. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
It's not. Nah.
All right. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, this is the thing we talked about earlier that, you know, the Van does talk Ty out of doing this. You know, she could have gone along with it. The door was open. They literally could have walked right in and killed this guy. And she pulls her back and is like, no, don't do it. And Ty actually agrees. So,
but then we missed the scene where then Tice is like, "You go ahead to Columbus Circle. You get a head start. I got a rock in my shoe. I gotta get it out."
Well,
and then Vanna's like, "That's okay. I have to I have to be somewhere with some candles. I need to go to the candle store."
Yeah. The creepy ass candle store. Yeah, so that was the other thing that stood out about this on the second watch, that they specifically split up at this point, making it possible for both of them to be like a potential suspect.
Yeah.
Because they're not accounted for, either one of them, by the other. And so anyway, that's hanging over all this. Okay, so we go back to the past. Nat asks Ty if she has more witnesses. Ty calls Natalie. Misty objects, but Nat agrees. Ty asks about the last time she saw Ben. Nat says it was the day she drew the queen before the fire. Ty clarifies that it was after, quote, the wilderness chose Javi. Sorry, I just hate that fucking phrase. It's like the sacrifice the island demanded. It's like, that's such bullshit, and you all know it's bullshit, especially you, Thaisa, anyway. But before the cabin burned, and it was by the cabin, Ty asks how Natalie knew that he was leaving after they met, and Natalie says, because he walked away. Then Ty pivots to what Ben saw them do, and notes that the timeline looks bad for Ben. Natalie thinks it could just be a coincidence. Ty asks why she didn't stop Ben from leaving. Natalie objects and sustains her own objection, which I think is really funny.
I agree.
She's not, a witness can't object, a judge can't object, and then you sustain your own. Anyway, whatever.
I love it.
It's pretty funny. Ty asked what she thought when the cabin burned. Nat thought that it could have just been an accident. Finally, Ty wonders why she didn't ask if she knew where Ben was the whole time. Ty notes that Nat gave orders not to search for Ben and that she's been lying to protect him. Finally, Natalie admits that she knew he was out there, but he wasn't a threat. Shauna jumps in. Hey, you're not participating in this. Mm-hmm. You can shut up. You're on a jury. The jury does not talk during a trial. Thank you, Shauna. Anyway, Shauna jumps in, contradicting. There are many murmurs. The prosecution rests. Misty does not question Natalie, but calls Coach Ben for questioning, and that's her relief. So yeah, this is where, basically like at this point, everyone knows that Natalie was protecting Ben. And I think this could lead to some trouble for Natalie going forward in terms of her leadership. Obviously we know she's going to survive, but just in terms of her position here, they're probably not going to like this, especially after they all agree that he's guilty at the end after being bullied into it by Shauna. Anyway, it's like literally what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not the finest moment of legal history, but
definitely not. Okay. So we go back to the present. Jeff is yucking it up with a Christopher Walken impression.
It's so weak.
It's really bad. It's worse than mine.
Yeah,
and
actually,
mine's horrible.
If we merged his with yours, we might have something close.
Randy is there too, but is sent away for snacks. Go get us some snacks, Randy. We're here enjoying ourselves with Jeff's endless bounty of amusements. Anyway. Clearly, Randy's disappointed with Jeff's success.
Yeah.
All right. So back in the freezer.
I guess that's probably what it was like in high school for the two of them. That's what they're trying to.
I think you're right.
Do here.
Definitely. Yeah. That's the vibe.
I
didn't even think about
so
that.
long to think of that. That's clearly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I forgot about their old dynamic. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Good one.
Thank you.
Anyway, all right. So back in the freezer, Shauna's still calling for help. Jackie says no one is coming. This is karma. Jackie says someone is trying to hurt Shauna for, quote, what she did, both in the wilderness and after she got back. Then she talks about the cold. Then she notes that Shauna isn't doing anything about the threat, but, quote, hurling accusations. Jackie says that she's the most interesting thing about Shauna and asks her if she turned into the person she wanted to be after Jackie died. And then Jackie disappears. So, this scene, really threw me for a loop the second time. Because I'm like, oh, interesting little point here that kind of, flew under my radar. This insinuation. And just to clarify, as you said, I don't think there's no ghost Grady. I don't think there's no ghost Jackie. This is Shauna's. This is basically a recapitulation of that weird meat locker stuff from season 2. One of my favorite things from season 2. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I live for those scenes. Anyway, and so exactly. She's thinking to herself, right? So she's thinking that someone is trying to hurt her for what she did in the wilderness and after she got back.
Yeah.
And that leaves open a lot of possibilities.
It does. So when I heard this, watching the episode, I was like, oh shit, what did she do when she got back?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, does it just mean Adam?
It could just mean Adam. That was my thought too.
So I think it's I don't want to get my hopes up that there's some crazy
extra thing
coming afterward. But maybe. I mean, we've gotten nothing really, like tiny bits of suggestions about what happened between they're getting on that plane. You're like walking across the tarmac,
yeah.
and the main storyline
from the beginning of season 2,
right?
Yeah, the only time they ever showed
right.
that.
Like we get these references to Natalie and Travis in this toxic on and off relationship.
Yep.
Lottie
in the institution in Switzerland.
Yeah, but that about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see whether they're hinting at something more there. I'll be a little disappointed if it's just Adam.
Yeah. I will too.
This
but I think there's also the wilderness uncertainty too. Like, what did she do in the wilderness exactly? Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
Jackie? I don't know.
I think what we've seen them do in the wilderness to this point is enough for that. But I do think we'll learn more. We're not. Yeah, we haven't seen all the morally questionable things that they've done in the wilderness yet. And I think in this episode we see like her railroading Ben. Yeah. It's possible that we're gonna find out something definitive about Ben not having done it.
Yeah.
And that'll reframe this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But regardless, I mean, she thumbed the scale in this episode.
Yeah.
And that's not nothing.
No, I agree. It's just, I guess, like, a lot of that stuff, I would say, isn't... Shauna's participation in it isn't particularly worse than the others, Like, the Jackie thing stands out because it was more specifically, like, what Shauna did.
Yeah, but she survived. And, I mean, everybody has these demons, or whatever. Vance got her cancer, even if it's potentially in remission.
Yeah.
Travis eventually dies by suicide.
Yeah.
Natalie also. I mean, no, but yeah.
I mean, she sort of sacrificed herself.
Yeah,
it's like not exactly suicide.
She almost She almost dies by suicide.
She put herself in harm's way, and she was about to. Yeah.
Anyhow, so I also think it's interesting. This, to your point that these are her own thoughts coming back to her. This is not a ghost. It always was just her own thoughts.
Yeah.
So she's thinking. Still, at this point, that Jackie's the most interesting thing about her.
Yeah.
And that's wild.
It is wild.
And that she's thinking to her... And which, maybe could be read as a response to Misty coming in like, you're a housewife, isn't it all you do to, like, cook for people? This wasn't the life that she... there was that scene when she's with Ty in an earlier season, I guess last season.
Yeah, the first season. Yeah, the bedroom scene.
Yeah, the bedroom scene.
Yeah, when she comes over to stay. Yeah.
And being here with Jeff on this lark of a community service, whatever, kind of. In a sense, even though she was, as you were saying, like in the earlier scenes, she was smiling and happy.
Yep.
She was doing great.
Yeah.
But then as soon as she like hovers above herself in that moment, she's back to the like, this totally exemplifies how disappointing my life is.
Sort of wasted potential or something.
Wasted potential,
yeah. Yeah.
Not that it's wasted potential to do that kind of work, but like if it's not what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, feeling like she could have made a lot of other choices and didn't necessarily choose the path that she would have wanted, like more abstractly or more like objectively, I guess. But it was a bigger point in season 1 for sure. I mean, like we said, like in season 2, I think Adele Shauna gets lost a little bit. The drama was more in other places, and so I think they didn't really pick that point up much. But yeah, it does seem like they're coming back to that place. And I also feel like there's a thing here about, did you become the person you wanted to be after Jackie died? Like, that they're kind of making a point about Shauna in the past as well.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, she's sort of reflecting on that era of after Jackie died and the stuff she did at that time and how that might relate. But even just this, you know, like, what are you doing about the threat but hurling accusations, you know?
Yeah. That is not really surprising that she's thinking that, but it's great because, she's just been lashing out at Misty.
Yeah.
So now we hear her own thoughts saying, like, why aren't you taking this more seriously? Why aren't you actually investigating to try to figure out who's doing this and why? As opposed to just, like, going for the easy thing of, like, fuck you, Misty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that she realizes this, you know? Even if her behavior isn't quite reflecting it yet, like, at least on some level she knows, like, this is unfair and, like, counterproductive, like, what she's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this can lead to a turn. I'm hoping she can, like, break out of this cycle and,
I think this is it.
Do something more proactive.
Yeah, but go and murder Lottie.
I know she absolutely has the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I don't think that she did.
I don't either, but she absolutely has the opportunity to do it, and they specifically write it so that that's the case. And I'm just like, damn. I don't think she did it either. To me, like, Shauna's the obvious false suspect, since she was the one who was, like, so mad at Lottie. Mm-hmm. You know, and, like, I feel like that's what you go, you know, like, oh man, you know, she put the necklace on Callie and like, you, like, threw her out of the house, like, yelling at her, and you threw dishes, and you know, like, you were so mad that she was, like, trying to talk to Callie, and you know, they could tell us, like, she found out that they went shopping, or, you know, like, whatever, you know, all that shit. Like, they could try to, like, build that, but of course I don't believe that she did it. Like, not for a second.
No.
More so than Jeff, but definitely not, like, definitely not more so than, like, I think more valid suspects, like Van, for example.
Yeah.
Or Thaisa, who's definitely on that list.
I'm counting the bad one as part of Ty.
I am too.
Even though I'm not sure that the bad one would kill Ty, but...
Yeah.
It depends on whether Ty ever really did have a legitimate connection to the wilderness and whether the bad one did.
Yeah.
These are questions.
They are.
What else we got?
But yeah, I just appreciated this a lot because, Shauna's just been so frustrating this season. So it was just like, oh, okay, good. There is at least some sense in there. She's just, like, behaving kind of, like, frustratingly, but, like, on some level she understands, like, what's happening, and maybe there's a chance here after this experience that we can get a turn in her approach to things. I'm looking forward to that if that happens.
Yep.
Okay. So, Randy looks for snacks in the kitchen, finally hears some thumping in the freezer. Hearing Shauna, he opens the door and she comes out running away. She goes to the front desk and asks for Misty, claiming that she locked Shauna in the freezer. The receptionist says that Misty left hours ago.
Yeah.
So, this is a Lindelof scene right here. But I'm like, you just chastise yourself for hurling accusations, and the first thing you do is go blame Misty for locking you in the freezer. Like, God damn it, Shauna, really? Anyway, but also, like, you know, Misty's gone, right? So Misty's unaccounted for during this period. Shauna ends up being unaccounted for. Ty and Van are unaccounted. It's like, goddamn.
Everybody's a suspect.
It's like they very deliberately wrote this in a way where we really can't, like, definitively rule anyone out. Only by context, you know. Except, like you said, like, Jeff is here. Jeff stays there the whole time. Like, he says, you know, like, you just ran out. Like, what happened? You know, so, like... And, like, Rand, I mean, there's, like, so zero chance Randy did it.
Yeah.
That makes no fucking sense at all. All right, anyway. But, yeah, I thought this was good. It should reinforce the point that you were making to yourself, like, 5 minutes ago, Shauna. Anyway.
That was then, and this is now.
Like, Misty didn't lock you in the freezer. Jesus Christ. All right.
Misty would not do that.
No. Anyway, all right. Back to the past. Misty asked Ben why he wanted to be a coach, a teacher. to work with teenagers. He says he didn't particularly want to do that stuff. Misty wonders, well, then how did you end up on the plane? How you were working there for 9 years? Ben says, I don't know, you were good players, and he thought he could get a better gig. Misty asks if it was just a job for him, but he says no. He ended up liking teaching, and he enjoyed coaching them, and he actually ended up liking them. He says they were relentless, and they were underdogs, and he likes those because he is one. Misty says he would never want to hurt an underdog, right? Ben says he would have turned them in for getting drunk if he wanted to hurt them. He would have put Misty on the team so she would get mocked for not being good enough if he wanted to hurt them. Ben says his family sucked and they weren't there for him, and he wanted to look out for them to make up for it. Misty asks why he left. Ben says they cut his leg off and stopped listening to him, and now they're putting him on trial. He was basically scared that he would be next and that they didn't need him anymore. He admits being a coward and says he's ashamed for leaving them, and he apologizes to Shauna directly. Then he says that what they had to do is incredible and says he didn't appreciate it. And he says he shouldn't have judged them, and he doesn't understand their belief system, but he would not try to kill them. We see some of them react to this, including Lottie wiping a tear from her eye. Lottie! All right. I just, seriously, Lottie. All right, sorry. Misty says no further questions. When I watch this, and then I'm like, I know what happens next. I'm just like, really? Really?
Yeah. Another way to read this whole exchange is as kind of a rebuttal to the visions that he's having shortly before, like in the run-up to the cabin, to him leaving, where it's like where we're invited to interpret that he gave up a life of happiner to indulge in part because just the social context made it a harder choice for him to sort of come out and live that life, and also that he didn't really like them, that he thought they were spoiled brats, and there were some
like little monsters,
unkind things that he says in those visions. And so we know that those were just visions more than memories, but it's kind of, either he's doing a really good job of lying right now, or this is, his visions were colored by the situation of fear and disappointment that he was in. Because his being on that plane resulted in him being in this situation, him losing his leg, all of this. But it's also something that often happens before they kill off a character, that they give some additional context to reframe, to maybe make more sympathetic certain things. So I don't know what's gonna happen to him in the next episode, but this sequence would allow for any, kind of scrubs the thoughts that he, the unkind thoughts that he had about them, I guess. Yeah.
There's a few ways you could go with this. Like you're saying, you could believe that he did burn the cabin, and he's just saying this stuff because he thinks this is his best chance of saving his own life. Mm-hmm. You could believe that. Mm-hmm. But, also, I would say just, by my own reading of the scene, it feels to me like he's being genuine. The way he reads the lines feels genuine to me. I don't see Ben being that much of a manipulator that he can put on this performance that's a complete lie. And he made those comments to Mari, the truth wouldn't matter to that mob, Mm-hmm. I feel like he on some level realizes, and he said it earlier too, he doesn't stand a chance here. And like, if he really did it, he might as well just say it at this point. He might as well just be like, yeah, you know what? I did burn the cabin.
Right.
I'm sorry I did it. I was freaked out. I was in a horrible place mentally. I feel like that's his play if he really did it. It seems weird to stand on this when it's gonna come down to the same thing either way.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me want to believe him. But I don't know. I also just want an answer. So you know, I just wish we could get that. But yeah, it's like he even specifically apologized to Shauna. She didn't give a fucking shit. She absolutely just like doesn't even let it affect her on any level. And then this scene of Lottie wiping a tear from her eye, I was just like, I if you'll permit me, it made me think about this scene from Lost where,
of course.
So I find this so frustrating, like. And I think it was just practical, and I think probably here it's just practical too, blah, blah, blah. But it's basically at the end of season 5 when they're talking about, you know, detonating this hydrogen bomb so that they can, like, reset the past and make the plane never crash and blibbity blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so, you know, like, Jack is trying to convince everyone to do it. And, like, and you know, some of them are like, no, and, like, they get convinced in various ways, but, like, specifically Kate is like, no, like, I don't want to lose the last whatever of my life. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like, that I'm just going to be a fugitive again. Like, do you remember what was happening before? Like, is that really, you know? And, like, somehow he talks her into it. And she's, like, giving the thumbs up at the end. And, like, I just never bought it. I was just like, no, her previous argument was good. Like, and it's like they had to force her to get there because they needed the plot to go that way. They couldn't have her standing in the way for the rest of the episode. And so, like, they just, like, you know, that's what it feels like with Lottie here. It's like, we need him to be convicted. And so it's like, you know, even though, like, she said in her own testimony, you know, that, like, it very well, like, there's no great reason to believe that it was him. And then here she's, like, deeply affected by what he's saying, and yet she's going to go for guilty in the end. And it's just like, I'm just like, it feels, I don't know, it feels like they're forcing her to do it. I just don't buy it. Yeah. I don't know. It bugs me. It bugs me.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Okay. So we go back to the present. Jeff arrives back at home asking Shauna why she ditched him to go kill Lottie. Wait, he didn't say that. Sorry. Shauna has a cat, and her plan for karma is to do a cat switcheroo and claim that it's the cat from the flyer. And let me just add, sorry, you want to say something before I finish?
No, please.
Let me just add that she went to New York City to get the cat. She specifically says that she went to New York City to get the cat. Why did you go to New York City, Shauna?
She had to find a cat that looked just like the cat.
That's the only place you can find a cat? Really, Shauna?
Hey, It's the most magical city in the world. You can find anything there. And if you can find a cat in New York, you can find a cat anywhere.
Well, all right.
I love Jeff's reaction to this. Like, sweet baby Jeff has been trying to build up his karma by donating things to charity, by doing community service.
Yeah.
And the way he summarizes what she is doing to try to follow that brief.
Yeah.
So you went around to find a cat that you knew was not the right cat in order to trick a family.
Into believing it's their lost cat.
Into believing it's their lost cat. Yeah. Like, feeling it mirrored back through Jeff's interpretive filter is pretty great.
It is. It is. Yeah, so he's not convinced by the plan, but he does acknowledge that it's thoughtful and says he looks like the picture in the flyer.
He's all about meeting you halfway.
100%.
He's all about making lemonade.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, Jeff. You're just not, you're too pure for this world.
He really is. I mean, it goes back, it reminds me of that thing of like, did we find out that he knew all along? He read those journals years ago.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that Shauna doesn't deserve him, but I think I'm going to have to say that actually no one deserves someone as forgiving and kind as
Well,
Jeff.
it reminds me of that scene from early on. I think it was the first episode when after Natalie's funeral where Shauna talks about like her own eulogy and she's like, and she's survived by her husband who blossomed after her death or whatever. You know? It's like she sort of acknowledges like that she's kind of dragging him down, you know?
Yeah. Aww. Yeah, you know, without her like cynical judgment, he'd be that guy doing the karaoke at the old folks' home.
Yep.
You know?
He was clearly really happy doing that
He was
stuff.
so happy doing that.
Yeah. It's true. And even just that impulse, like, we need to do some good, like, we need to do good things. Like, we've been involved in all this, like, horrible shit, and, like, let's, like, try to make up for that in some way.
And she's just, like, I mean, it's funny that she dresses up as Daria for Halloween because she's so Daria. You know, she's rolling her eyes at everything.
So true. Yeah. I think they did that intentionally.
Yeah, for sure.
The people who matter know who Daria is, Callie.
God, Gen X was just, oh man. I said was. Like it's the greatest generation.
They're long gone now. We barely remember them.
Perhaps you've read about Generation X in history books.
All right. Are you ready to continue?
Yeah, please.
Right. So Ty walks Van through the park, Central Park, that is.
The park.
And asks for a pretzel, referencing what Van said before about taking a horse carriage ride in Central Park and getting a pretzel. Van is charmed, and as she pays for the pretzel, we see that her hand is shaking. Ty asks about it, but she says it's just adrenaline from the day. No big deal. She gives Ty the pretzel, and they walk to the carriage. Ah, what a beautiful moment. And the Cranberries' lovely ballad Linger plays over this. It's such a tender, you know something. Like, I didn't see it coming, and yet in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, when they go for this, and it's like, feels like maximum sentimentality, I should know something's coming. I should have been prepared, like, okay.
Yeah, but prepared for that, I mean...
Yeah, not for that, but just for something. Like, I was taking this moment as just like a nice thing, like, I didn't realize there was a dark side underneath all this. And the weird Van handshaking thing, it's like, I have no idea what that's about. Is that a hint that, she might have had something to do? It could be. Or is it something else that she's hiding? I really don't know.
We gotta find out what.
We do have to find out what, because it's the first time they've ever shown, I believe so, right? I don't think they've ever shown, like, Van's handshaking
No,
before.
that's not, like, a thing.
Yeah, it's weird. We've got to learn something about that. Because, like, this could be a scene from, like, a rom-com or something, except for the other stuff happening here. Because it's all very romantic. Anyway, okay. Ready for...
Yes.
Okay, so we go back to the past. It's time for a verdict. Natalie reminds them of the 2/3 rule, but she, Ty, and Misty will not vote. They vote, but it's not enough either way. Just for the record, the guilty votes are Shauna, Van, and some randos. And the innocent votes are Travis, Akilah, Mari, Lottie, and some randos. So Travis actually voted for innocent initially as well. But they didn't show him brought to tears by Coach Vince's thing, so that's the only reason I'm not also quite as irritated with Travis, though I am irritated with Travis, as well as Akilah, who's holding a bunny this whole time, incidentally. So they vote again.
It's a really stressful experience, and I think everyone should have been holding a bunny.
I agree. So they vote again. We see Melissa vote guilty this time. They didn't show it the first time. I would assume she would vote with Shauna anyway, because she's like in that weird thing right now. But anyway, then we see a montage of failed votes. Okay, let's vote again, right? At the end, Shauna yells at everyone to raise their fucking hands for guilty. That's basically, I mean, she didn't say exactly that, but that was basically the point.
Yeah, oof.
So, yeah. All right, everybody, can we just fucking do it my way? Because that's what rules here. Like, hey, you know, I'll bite your fucking hand off if you don't vote right. Anyway, she didn't say that, but I feel that was implied. Okay, so Melissa pressures Gin into it, so she switches her vote. Natalie and Misty try to object, but Shauna yells at them to back off! Back off! I get to say what happens here. This is my fucking, like, court now. Okay, whatever. Shauna looks at Lottie, and then, this is a weird moment. At this point, when Shauna looks at Lottie, they cut to a shot of the trees with that, like, out of focus border thing happening that they've shown before. I think implying like there's some dark wilderness influence happening here, because that's the way they used that shot before. Mm-hmm. You know, it seemed like, I didn't catch it the first time, but when I watched it again, it seemed like that's what they were insinuating, that there's like some, you know, I mean, not that like I really believe that, but like that's what they're portraying here. Mm-hmm. Because when they go back to Lottie, she changes her vote to guilty. And then Travis changes his vote to guilty. Akilah, holding a bunny, who's still holding firm for innocent, I'm sure, also changes her vote to guilty. Shauna observes that is the needed 2/3, and Nat says she knows. And she pronounces the verdict to Ben, guilty of attempted murder, and tells Van to take him away. They all get up. Misty is upset. Melissa tells Shauna that what she did is real power. Yeah.
Fuck
good
you,
job.
Get out,
Good
Melissa.
job, Shauna. Yeah, that was fucking badass. And they clasp hands as Lottie looks on. Going over to Travis. Travis looks at a sketch, which I assume is also of Javi since the earlier one was, although this one looks a little different from the others. It looks older, and it's not obviously burned. It just seems decomposed, but he was looking at Javi's sketches earlier, I think, so I guess it's Javi's. Anyway, I don't know. It's a sketch. Lottie asks about it, and he says, it's the outcome. His only line in the entire episode.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 figures with a figure in the middle. I guess they're talking. I guess what he's saying. This again, I didn't get at this the first time, but I guess what he's saying is this is the outcome of the trial. That they're gonna like burn Ben, or they're gonna like execute him or something. I feel like he's supposed to be the one in the middle, and they're like standing around him. I think that's what he was saying. Yeah. Or he was saying it's the 3 of them that changed their votes. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very striking.
It's a fucking weird ass moment. Both of these moments are weird. This thing with Melissa and Shauna, and they like clasp, and then like Lottie looks at this. It's like, that's a weird moment, and that also made me think about that thing of Jackie talking about what Shauna did. It made me think there's something coming there. You know, because I feel like they're building up some, you know, just, it seems like that's an arc for this season, is like Shauna's like descent into I don't know what in the wilderness, you know, getting drunk on power or abusing power or something. I definitely feel like she's a bully here, and I don't appreciate it.
Definitely.
Because it's just like they can vote guilty if they want. But don't fucking yell at them to do it. Like, you know, like they're free people like you are. Like, why are you like trying to force them to do what you want? Like, is that what you call like a fair trial, Shauna? Anyway, got so annoyed by that. And then annoyed by Melissa for like applauding it. Like, really? Like, okay. Oh God. She's like, like becoming like a sycophant type character, like standing in the wings, like cheering on Shauna's like awful behavior. Anyway, and then like Lottie's thing here too, again with the future thing with Lottie and Melissa possibly being there in the future. We still don't really know that. Anyway, all that just seemed relevant. And so I just want to note it. And then Travis's thing. I guess he's implying that Javi predicted that this would happen or something. I don't know. He just says it's the outcome. So
yeah.
So you tell me. But
I mean, I think we're gonna have a different read on this scene after the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hopefully that'll clarify. But it was very, very ambiguous.
It was mysterious. They finally let him say something, and he said it was really mysterious.
Yeah, he's just like sitting there this whole time, not saying a damn word. Drunk ass Travis, and this like. This is what you got after all that?
Yeah.
Like, really? That's weird, man. What's up with you? What are you doing? Anyway, you're as weird as everyone on this show. Anyway, okay. Not that I didn't think that before, but it's really apparent here. All right, so hopefully we'll find out more about that in the future. Shall we continue to the final scene?
Yeah.
We go back to the present. Misty shines a black light on the paper, but doesn't see anything because I think she was just wrong about that. Or maybe it's something else. We'll see. Maybe Melissa left it for Misty. And then locked Shauna in the freezer.
Melissa's too stupid to know how to, like, make some text show up.
Yeah. She'll just leave a blank paper to keep Misty on her toes.
There you go.
I don't know.
Keep her occupied.
I'm just making some bullshit up, but I do think it's notable. Potentially, or not. Anyway. Then she opens her laptop and sees something on her what do they call it?
Board.
Citizen Detective Reddit or whatever, saying that a body was found. And Walter texts at this point saying he heard about Lottie and asked if she's okay. Fuck you, Walter! Anyway. Did you kill Lottie? Anyway, I doubt it, but
oh my god, though, what if he did?
Well, I will definitely
admit the possibility.
I will put Walter on the list higher than Jeff and Randy for sure.
Uh-huh.
He's obviously unaccounted for during this time, and we know he's capable of murder.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't see that he has any reason to kill Lottie, but I mean, it's like some crazy way to get back in with Misty. Like I don't know. I don't really believe that, but. It's on the pile.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at this point, Misty clicks on the image was, hidden initially, and you have to click to reveal it.
Yeah, the sensitive content thing.
So she clicks on it, and we see a picture of Lottie's body.
Lottie's booty.
There you go.
You need to say
it works better in British. It doesn't rhyme so much. Lottie's booty. Lying on the ground, and then we kind of cut to a real-time shot of Lottie at the bottom of a stairwell, lying on the ground. The stairwell is lined with candles, and zooming out, we see police tape, and there are camera flashes as they cut to an overhead view of Lottie lying on the ground, and then we go to end credits.
Yeah.
So, I mean. Just one obvious thing to say is that, and actually, now that I think about it, the juxtaposition feels deliberate because this feels like it's a reference to Lottie's vision from season 1 with the candles on the stairwell when Laura Lee does the baptism.
I agree.
You know, it's like, I wondered why they showed that.
And earlier in this episode, we see in the past that exchange with Aquila where she's like, you're having visions. Yeah. And it definitely parallels to her telling Lorelai, or talking to Lorelai about visions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was the reason she went there in the first place. And also Travis's thing, right? Because we cut out of Travis, it's the outcome. And then we go to this, sort of implying that what Lottie saw was the outcome. You know? Anyway...
Yikes.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me until just now, actually, that there's a connection between those two scenes.
Yeah. Did 3 people kill her?
Hey, throwing it out there. Okay, are you ready for my banal theory?
Let's hear it.
So, my most banal theory is that she just tripped and fell down the stairs.
Oh, yeah. Let's have that not be true.
Like... I could see that happening. And so I just have to say it out loud because, like, the way this show works, it really could be some shit like that. Like she wasn't murdered. She didn't even kill herself.
Oh, man.
So anyway, that's my three theories. She was murdered. She killed herself. Or it was an accident.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be something dumb like she tripped. But, like I don't know. Whatever. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we see, it could have been an accident. It could be a parallel to the crystal thing.
Yeah.
She ends up in an altercation.
Some confrontation.
Backed up.
That goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be a better version of my, like, whoops.
Falls down.
Yeah, it's like a
She doesn't
pratfall.
slip on a banana peel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's just, I can't let that go because this show will do shit like that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's open our hearts to that possibility so we'll be less disappointed.
Yes. That is my intention 100%. Because, like, the intrigue level is maximum right now, and that tells me, watch out. Mm-hmm. Don't go too crazy, all right? Because a lot of times what they tell us is, like, something pretty basic. So
the other
I feel like suicide is more likely than accidents.
Yeah, agreed. The other thing that it reminded me of, in addition to the vision that she has when she's being baptized in season 1, is the tableau with the dog head.
Oh, yeah.
Season 1.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that is also just like, in the dark, underground, concrete.
Yeah.
Like, there's an aesthetic there.
I don't think there was a candle there, although I could be wrong. Because I thought Simone shined a light on it, and that's how
it wouldn't still be burning.
Right.
Because it had been days.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember, but it was just another thing it called to mind. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, to be continued, how many episodes do we have left?
6, I believe.
What?
There's 10 this season.
God.
This was number 4, so next week will be the halfway point.
Oh, wow. That's better than I expected.
Yeah.
I've gotten used to these short seasons that just end before you know it.
This is not a British show, so we're getting a full 10 this season, and they're not throwing one away like they did last season. Will we ever get that episode? I really don't know, but
yeah,
I can only assume that if they withhold it, that it's actually just bad, and that it's actually better that they don't release it.
Yeah,
that it would just be another Across the Sea or something that everyone would just be mad about. I actually like Across the Sea, but a lot of people hate it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
Let's say Abaturno, because I actually don't like that one. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyhow.
I really enjoyed this one. I found thinking about the stuff in this episode, like, really fired me up more so than the other episodes this season. So I'm pretty excited going forward, but cautiously.
Yeah, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, because, like, there's a lot of interesting, weird developments in this episode, and a lot of hints at, like, possible directions that seem interesting as well. So, so I'm looking forward to it. So we'll be back next week with whatever the fuck it's called.
That's right.
Hopefully, it's as helpful of the title as this week's was.
Mm-hmm.
And until then,
buzz.
buzz.